How did that change? When did it change?
It changed when I was doing a degree, because it was the first time that I had been applying maths to a problem that I already understood. So, or at least I could see the application.
That's right. I just remember at high school, what you heard from everyone all the time was, when are we going to use this? When are we going to use this? This is just, it does seem quite divorced from reality, the way you're taught maths. But do you think that's a part of the reason you struggled, or do you think it's just because you were then at university, you were at an age where your brain had developed more so you could?
There are a few things that all happened at about the same time. I got to university and I was at an age where my brain was developed enough to understand things. I was in an environment with other people who, some of them were also dyslexic, some of them were also dyscalculic. Yeah. There was no stigma.
Yeah. So then you can just accept strategies and accept help and support and actually, you're learning from a neutral or even a positive point, so the solution, rather than you're learning from a deficit point of view.
And one of my close friends, and actually for a time partners, her mum was the Senko of a school.
Oh, wow.
And we were having conversations about learning in general, and she said, "Alex, I think you might be dyslexic, and I think you might have dyslexia or dyscalculia." And because I was at university, I could go to the university's dyslexia and disability department and say, "I think I might be dyslexic," and they say, "Okay, we'll arrange for you to have an assessment." And so went through the process for that and sat down with an educational psychologist who did the assessment, and he then said, "Yes, Alex, I think you have dyslexia and dyscalculia. This is what I'm going to recommend you do."
Mm-hmm.
I then had access to support. I had validation for the difficulties that I'd faced.
And you're an adult then, so it's not like if you're in school, it's definitely everything is framed through disability, deficit, problem, difference from other people with the social pressure. Whereas at university, difference is in part positive, isn't it? And then it's just in so many ways it's a more positive point of view.
Yeah, and there was a particular professor. No, it wasn't a professor. Particular lecturer who was. He had a very, very definite way of teaching, and it worked for some people and didn't work for other people. He was teaching in a way that really relied on anecdotes.
Okay.
So for me as a geologist, he would be talking about, let's say, talking about the difference in thermal properties between different types of rocks, and rather than just giving, "Oh yeah, here are the numbers," he would say, if you're imagine you're in Scotland on a really cold, wet, windy night, and you get up to go to the toilet, but you find that there's somebody already in the one shared toilet. So you decide you're going to wait outside, and there's two seats. One seat is made of granite.
Okay.
And one seat is made of slate.
Yes.
Which do you sit on?
Which one would I sit on?
Yes.
I don't know the thermal properties of either.
Well, exactly.
But I'd go for granite, because slate just seems that it would be colder.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, the idea would be that slate conducts heat worse than granite. So if you sit on the granite, it's going to conduct the heat away from your bottom quicker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so the slate would be the best.
In that instance, the slate, you'd sit on the...
I'd be making the wrong choice, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're in that situation, you don't sit down. Like, but that kind of thing where it's like, oh, what would I rather... And I know, because I've been in places with slate floors, that you can walk on slate floors in bare feet in the winter, and yeah, it's cold, you'd rather be walking on carpet, but it's not.
So what you're saying is he gave you application of the maths all the time, constantly, drip feeding
Yes,
it.
and he would have, say, there'd be like these are the thermal properties up on. Well, he was a bit of an old school person. He'd write it on the whiteboard, rather than use a PowerPoint slide. But we'd have those numbers, but it would be through experience and through anecdotes, and he was constantly teaching in that style, which really worked for me.
I think that would work for me as well, because it's more to connect the information to, isn't it?
And there's a book which called Mathematics for Geologists, and it's a book that teaches up to A-level maths.
Okay. Wait, up to A level?
Up to A level standard maths.
Okay.
So it teaches calculus, basically. It's from 0 to calculus. And all of the examples are geological examples, which for me, because I'm a geologist, I already understand what geology is.
That's a great way of learning maths.
It is a great way of learning maths.
Through your own field as well.
Yeah. And I read this book, and when I was doing my degree, I read it every year, because I'd forget what I was doing. So every year I'd have to reread it to understand it. It's the only way I've ever understood calculus, because it's taught not through acceleration of a car.
Oh, they always... Oh, yeah.
It's not taught like that. It's taught through thermal decay or something, which is something that I already understand that from a different perspective. And for me, because I already understand that, I have an intuitive sense of what the answer should be.